Ohai. Nicosia, the capital of the Republic of Cyprus and a northern part of the city so-called. Northern Nicosia, the capital of partially recognized Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. It is recognized as the independent state only as Turkey. It is located in the central part of the island of Cyprus. The population minus card. Inhabitants 2012. The international airport is closed since 1974 and here the headquarters of peacekeeping forces of the Union is located. As of the end of 2004 to the south from the Green Line. The Greek part of the city. The population makes about card. Inhabitants to the north. The Turkish part. It's 4893 inhabitants. Nicosia is the important shopping and industrial center. In the city -2 modern malls, shops, restaurants, entertainment complexes. In the city textile, tanning, potters production of plastic and other products, the food industry is developed. Nearby there are copper mines. In Nicosia, the University of Cyprus and 5 other universities. The city is founded in the 7th century BB and originally Ledra was called. As a part of Byzantium received the Greek name Lefkosia, the white city, from Loikos, white. The Turkish form Lefkosia. Since the 13th century the use includes the name Nicosia. From ancient Greek the Nike, the goddess of victory, which was widely adopted in the European languages. Traces of the first settlers are traced from 3900th year BB. The city is founded about the 7th century BB. Ledra, then Lefkatian is called. The modern name approximately since the 13th century AD. I represented the ancient Greek city-state. During the Hellenistic period. Approximately in 330 BB. The city lost the value and turned into the small village. In 965 Byzantines do the city by the center of Aphema Cyprus. In 1191 the English king crusader Richard I the Lionheart wins the city and Bui di Luzignano gives him in 1192. The city becomes the capital of the Cyprian kingdom. During this period the city received the name Nicosia. In 1489-1571 the city under the power of Venetians. In 1571-1878 under the power of Turks. In 1878-1960 under the power of British. In 1960 the city becomes the capital of the independent Republic of Cyprus. As a result of invasion of the Turkish troops in 1974 and the followed declaration of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, the city is divided into the Turkish and Greek parts. The border between them, protected by troops of the Union, passes directly across the historic center of the city and through the main shopping ladder street. In northern Turkish part of Nicosia is the capital of the self-proclaimed Turks and Lefkosia is called. On April 3, 2008 works on dismantling of the wall dividing the city into 2 parts are begun. Nicosia is located on the extensive plain in the center of Cyprus of Messoria, between ridges Troodos and Kyrenia. Nicosia is near the Akaki River. The climate of Nicosia is Mediterranean with lines semi-desertic. Classification of climates of Kiapan. Shesh. Existence of warm winter and hot dry summer exclude development of the city in the agrarian plan. Osadkov drops out only 300 that is Nicosia by one of the most droughty and hot the cities of the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Sites: Gothic Street, Sophia Cathedral, the 13th-14th century, Churches of the Mother of God, Ensemble of the Market. The Gothic Basilica is expanded in the 14th-16th centuries. Gate of Famagusta, 16th century. St. Ioan's Cathedral. It is reconstructed in 1665. A cycle of paintings, about 1730. Archiepiscopal Palace, 1950-1959. The central part of Nicosia, the so-called Old City, is surrounded with the huge walls which were put up by Venetians during the period from 1567 to 1570 at the end of an era of their board. For protection of residents against the attacks from the Ottoman Empire, more modern defensive works than old medieval walls existing at the time were required. And in 1567 Venetians sent to Nicosia military engineers of Giulio Savardnano and Francesco Barbara for construction of new walls for the city. To fill with water the ditch surrounding walls, the river Pdio was allocated bypassing the downtown. However, probably, it was made with the purpose to protect the city from a flood. Except construction of walls, Venetians decided to clear away also the area more better to see the possible attack of the opponent. For this purpose and also to extract construction materials, it was decided to demolish some churches and palaces in the city and also several constructions which are beyond his limits. The Venetian walls had total length about 5 km. Together with 11 bastions they had to serve as protection of the city. The experts living at the time recognized them as an example of military architecture of the 16th century. The design of these walls combines various advanced technologies which existed at the time. The technologies marking the beginning of Renaissance in designing of fortifications. For example, placement of gate near bastions allowed to protect more better gate during a siege. Having refused facing of the top part of a wall a stone, engineers increased ability of a wall to absorb blows from gunshots. However, despite all efforts of architects and builders, their work was vain. Under the pressure of troops of the Ottoman Empire in 1570 the city fell. And Turks whom I headed Lala Mustafa Pasha took it before Venetians managed to complete their construction. Ottomans took bastions almost untouched, and they remained almost not changed up to the British era of board on the island. Since 1996 each section of walls along with 3 gate was restored. In the recovery time of a bastion of Podokotra fragments of guns and other tools were found. Also the ceramics, lead bullets, several coins, separate parts of Ottoman pipes and a foot of a big stone statue of a lion was found. Bastions were called in honor of the main families of the Italian aristocracy which were living at the time in the city, and they offered funds for a construction of walls and 3 gate. From 11 bastions 5 are in the Turkish sector, 5 in Greek, and 1 remains under control of the Union.
Clockwise, since a 12-hour position, the name of gate and bastions the following.
Kyreniski Gate. Were called in honor of the military engineer Francesco Barbara.
Kyreniski Gate were the operating gate in a wall until in 1931 the British didn't construct the road on other party from them.
Bastion of Musala. Barbara. In the building of a bastion the Turkish armed forces and also the Museum of National Fight which is available to visit settle down. Bastion of Cevisli. Loredano. In the ditch surrounding a bastion Ankara Kaglayan Park is located. Bastion of Sibeli. Flatro. Tourists won't manage to approach this bastion as it is occupied with the Union. To continue the movement further, tourists should return to one of 2 points for crossing of the Green Line. The next point, Loch Massey. Gate of Famagusta. Porta Giuliani. The gate called in honor of their architect Giulio Savordnano. The Brother Ascanio. These gate probably the best have remained among all 3 gate. Today their room is used as the cultural center, and for holidays various celebrations are held here. Podocutter Bastion. Hiestoboda's monument representing several bronze figures of the people leaving a dungeon is located. Nearby there is a section of an aqueduct which once delivered to the city water from mountains. Bastion Constanta. Constanza. Exactly here in 1570 the Turks storming the city broke through protection. Now here the Mosque Bayraktar is located. The Avila Bastion. In this bastion the municipality building is located. Liberty Square. Platea Eleftherios is nearby located. This traditional place at gatherings of Cypriot Greeks. Nearby there is an area under the name of the Lake Eutonia. Tripoli Bastion. This bastion is used as a parking in the bus stop. Aphian Gate. Porta San Domenico. These gates are called in honor of the monastery Lusanian which was located nearby. This monastery was demolished by Venetians in 1567 during construction of walls. In vicinities there is a church of the Sacred Catholic Cross. It is completely neutral earth. The entrance is on the Greek side and an exit, which is reliably closed, on the Turkish part. The next transition through the Green Line is on Leather Street. Rokas Bastion. This bastion is located on the Turkish part. It was turned into the park. Bastion of Zara. Mula. From here it is possible to look down into place with a ditch. In this place the Green Line the widest. It is finished by a survey post of the Union, though today it is used seldom. Bastion of Cephan. Queerny. In this bastion the palace of the President of Northern Cyprus is located. Further around there are Kiriniski Gate. In Nicosia there is the most prestigious in the Republic of Cyprus, the Cyprian University. In 1980 the private University of Nicosia was open. In a northern part of the city there are a Middle Eastern University and the International University of Cyprus. Besides, in Nicosia there is the Correspondence Open University of Cyprus and the private European University of Cyprus. Religion. Historically, Nicosia is the place where the set of religious communities, faiths, churches, mosques, synagogues, etc. mixed up together. Traditionally in Nicosia, Greek Orthodox churches, the Armenian Apostolic churches, Russian Orthodox Church, Latin Catholic Church, Maronite Catholic, Anglican churches, Evangelic churches and also mosques and synagogues are presented. One of the oldest Armenian churches, is earlier known as the Saint Church of the Virgin, was founded in the 13th century as the main monastery after falling of Jerusalem. In 1308 the King de Lusignan, Henry II from Jerusalem, restored church after it was destroyed by an earthquake. As many nuns were Armenians by origin, the monastery got under control of the Armenian Church till 1504. Since 1963 the church is in northern Nicosia, under control of Turkish Cypriots. The church was brought partially down and suffered significant violations till 2007 when restoration works began. Restoration was complete in 2013 and received an award of the EU for Cultural Heritage Europa Nostra in 2015. With assistance of the World Council of Churches, the Westphalian Church, the Government of Cyprus and believers in Strovolos, the new cathedral, Cathedral Serbastvatsan, Blessed Virgin Mary, was constructed. His foundation was laid on September 25, 1976 by the Archbishop Makarios of Thri and the Archbishop Nerses Pakdigin. He was officially opened on November 22, 1981 by the Catholicos of Cilicia Horon I and the Deputy Catholicos of Cilicia Karakini for two in the presence of the Archbishop Chrysostomai, the bishops Ari Aznavorian and Drav Antranik 50. Ashes Han. The Maronite Church is a traditional church in Nicosia. The Archdiocese extends the jurisdiction to all Maronites of the island of Cyprus. The very diocesan residence is the city of Nicosia, where there is a cathedral of the Merciful Mother of God.
For the end of 2013, from 838,897 people, inhabitants joined the Archdiocese, that makes 1.2% of the population.
The church is divided into 12 arrivals. Cathedral of the Merciful Mother of God, the main Maronite church in the city of Nicosia in Cyprus, and Cathedral of the Maronite Catholic Archdiocese of Cyprus. The first cathedral was devoted to Saint Ioan, but during Ottoman occupation he was turned into the mosque. The community of the Lebanese Maronites constructed Basilica of Santa Croce, Holy Cross Church, later transferred to Franciscans, and the present Cathedral of the Merciful Mother of God is near Franciscan Church. The residence of the priest and surrounding constructions were built only in 1960. On June 6, 2010, the Pope Benedict XVI, first pope who made an apostolic trip to the island, visited Cathedral of Nicosia. In Nicosia there is the biggest Russian Orthodox Church in Cyprus, located in Episkopio. A temple for the sake of Andrew I, called an All Saints, in the Russian land of Lit Up, is near the village. The temple is built in traditional Russian Orthodox style. Construction of church began in October 2015 and was completed on July 7, 2016. The temple consists of 5 domes, and the weight of central is 7 tons. All of them were made in St. Petersburg and established by the Russian experts. This temple, the first and only Russian church in Cyprus with gilded domes. St. Paul's Church was constructed in 1893 when Cyprus was under protectorate of the British Empire. Influence of policy on architecture is shown in structural elements of the building, which reminds the English parish church. The Christian church is the oldest part of Cyprus and the Persian Gulf today. The Greek Evangelic Church of Nicosia is rather modern church servicing local Protestant community. Besides service of the Greek Evangelic community, it is the center of local Protestants of other nationalities, such as Armenians, Americans, Romanians, Koreans, Chinese, etc. The church is located on Gladstone Street.
The first community of the Armenian evangelists in Cyprus appeared after arrival of the British in July 1878.
As they were in minority, soon began to associate them with parent church. Armenian Apostolic Church, which Episogam Uted Zion, the official translator of the state documents, and the son of Stephen Uted Zion, one of the first founders of the Armenian Evangelic Church, who was the chairman of Parish Council of Nicosia for 30 years, joined. With inflow of bigger number of Protestants, community of the Armenian Evangelists joined Reformed Presbyterian Church in 1887. The Nicosia and Larnaca were the main centers. Meetings were sometimes held in Limassol, Famagusta and Amiantos. Also there was a small Armenian Evangelic Church located on Mahmud Pasha Street in the part of the walled city of Nicosia occupied by Turks, behind the old building of the American Academy, near the Mosque Ahmedzir. Before construction, the community of the Armenian Evangelists made church services in Reformed Presbyterian Church on Apostle Barnabas Street, opposite to old power plant and behind the building of the Sacred Archbishopric of Cyprus.
The church, since the beginning of the 1930th years, finally was constructed thanks to the pastor's initiative Johanna der Megarditschian at a financial contribution of Reformed Presbyterian Church and the Armenian Evangelists.
Dikran H. Davidian was an architect.
The foundation was laid on July 28, 1946 by the pastor Joachim der Megarditschian, who consecrated him on July 1, 1947.
In the lower part of the right wall sideways from an entrance there is an inscription on Armenian. Perhaps the most sign religious architecture of Nicosia is the street. Sophia Cathedral, also known as the Nicosia Street. Sophia Cathedral, which was constructed in 1326 as Catholic Church. It was transformed to the mosque and located in northern Nicosia. Historically it was the main mosque of the city. It is known as Selamai Mosque, which is located in the biggest and the oldest remained Gothic church in Cyprus. Internal dimensions 66x21 m. Probably the early Byzantine church constructed on the place.
During a 50-day Ottoman siege of the city in 1570, the cathedral became a shelter for a large number of people.
When the city fell on September 9, Francesco Contarini, the Bishop of Fossa, said the last Christian sermon in the building, in which he asked for divine help and gave manuals to people. The cathedral was stormed by Ottoman soldiers who broke open a door and killed the bishop together with others. They broke or threw out Christian objects, such as furniture and jewelry in cathedral, and destroyed chorus and also a nave. Then they cleaned an internal part of the mosque to prepare him for the first Friday prayer, which was carried out on September 15 and at which there was a commander, Lala Mustafa Pasha. On her there was officially a transformation of cathedral to the mosque. 2 minarets and also Islamic elements, such as an minbar, were the same year added. After re-equipment, the mosque became the property of fund of the Sultan Selim, who was responsible for her contents. In the period of the Ottoman Empire, it was the biggest mosque on all island, and she was weekly used by the governor of the Ottoman Empire, administrators and elite for Friday prayers. At the end of the 18th century, every Friday to the mosque the big procession, which the first higher-ranking officials on horses, and then pedestrian officials of more low rank entered, came. Islam. Historically in Nicosia, the south and the north. More than 15 mosques which are initially built as mosques or transformed from churches are located. The Mosque Mary, earlier known as the Augustinian Saint Church of Maria, is a mosque in the walled city of Nicosia on the island of Cyprus, the mosque now located in the southern part of Nicosia. After the Turkish invasion to Cyprus became one of the most important places of Muslim in a non-Muslim part of the island and city. Now the mosque functions and is open both for believers and for visitors. Earlier, the Augustinian Saint Church of Maria, constructed in the 14th century, was in the place of the mosque. During the Ottoman and Venetian War of 1570-73, the church was for the first time strongly damaged during a siege of Nicosia in 1570, and after war was destroyed. After the Turkish conquest of Cyprus, Lala Mustafa Pasha, the Ottoman commander, ordered to build the mosque on the place of the former church, on the basis of popular belief that Umar, the second caliph of Islam, was buried on this place in the 7th century. According to folklore of Turkish Cypriots, the Mosque Mary, the first mosque where Turks began to pray on the island after his gain in 1571. Natives. Ionisos Minos is the Greek military and a chronograph of the 16th century. I headed group of 4,000 defenders of Nicosia during her siege Turks. Marcello Capra is the Italian doctor, the participant of Battle of Lepanto. New martyr Philumen. Hassapes. Ioannis Karatzis. 1767-1798. Associate of the Greek revolutionary Rigas Ferios. Together with Rigas and 4 more companions, it was tortured by Turks in Belgrade in 1798. The Archbishop Cyprian Kiprski. 1756-1821. The Archbishop of the Cyprian Orthodox Church, accepted martyrdom from the beginning of the Greek Revolution of 1821. Nicholas Hatzijanis is a popular Greek musician. Valanto Tryphonos, the Greek Cyprian singer. Christopher Pissaridis. 1948. Cyprian and British economist, Nobel Prize of 2010 on Economy. Astasios Alaneftis is the Cyprian football player, the player expert Omonia Nicosia and the national team of Cyprus in soccer, the first Cyprian player in Bundesliga. Christ Milordos is the Cyprian singer. Dimitris Drutzis is the Greek politician, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greece. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.